I just want to thank our partner, Mira Fertility Tracking, for working with us to help women to get connected to the opportunity to actually measure hormones at home. It is the technology that I personally used during my menopausal transition. It was life-changing for me. You can find more information on Mira on our website at menocoaching.com, and you can also find it in our show notes. We look forward to supporting you in your hormone transition.
There's a huge lack of women's health research, and many diseases that were dominating with women's cases were using the male sample to study in the clinical trial. And there's many female diseases were not being studied at all.
Hello and welcome to What I Wish I Knew. I'm your host, Irene Ortiz-Glass. What I Wish I Knew is dedicated to providing women with information and a guided path to find purpose, healing, and joy. It is to give women power and permission to go inward during the time of perimenopause and menopause to find their inner compass, while also actively making changes to allow them to thrive during this period of time in life. In this season, we are focusing on the issues surrounding menopause and its transition, and I will share what I wish I knew. Today, I am honored and absolutely thrilled to have Sylvia Kang, the co-founder and CEO of Mira, with us here today. Sylvia holds an MBA from Cornell University and an MS in biomedical engineering from Columbia. Before she started Mira, she was in business in director-level roles in Fortune 500 life science companies, running a $100 million global business. As many women in their 20s, Sylvia prioritized advanced education and career opportunities over family planning. When one close friend of hers started to try for a baby, she had no success after 6 months of trying. Doctors couldn't find any problems with her or her husband, and Sylvia witnessed her going through a very stressful time guessing and disappointment around what was actually happening in her body. The existing fertility products didn't help because they couldn't pinpoint what was going on or give enough insights to be a guide. She eventually got pregnant through IUI, which was time-consuming and expensive. And this is a general trending issue faced by more and more women today. Shortly, Sylvia left her corporate job and used her biomedical degree to create Mira, on a mission to give women the accuracy of lab testing at home. Sylvia is also a concert pianist. She has won multiple international piano competitions in France, China, and Hong Kong. So, Sylvia, it is so important that you're here today for many reasons, mostly because I'm such a fan and I've had such a personal experience with Mira technology. So the purpose of this podcast is to talk about the power of being able to test hormones at home. So just as an intro to the audience today, I want to let you all know my experience with Mira because it literally changed my life. So as everyone knows that has been listening in on the podcast, I went through surgical menopause about 19 months ago. And during that period of time, everything felt really off in my body. And, honestly, every day was different and my hormones were not stable for a while. And I was unable to continue to go get lab testing through my doctor every day or every other day, every 6 weeks, and was basically looking for a solution. And another founder, most of you know I'm an executive coach to founders, and another founder that I was coaching said, "Have you ever heard of Mira?" And I said, "No, what is that?" And he said, "You need it, Irene, go look it up." And that was my first introduction to Mira. And I tested my urine every day for about 8 or 9 months. And I made adjustments to my hormone therapy and also, funny enough, would actually share the results with my doctor. So she knew what I needed to do to tweak my patch or add gel in because, there's a sweet spot you're trying to find in menopause. And we found it. And we found it because I was an advocate. I had a great support system, but also because I used Mira technology. So that being said, Sylvia, thank you for being here. Would love for you to share with us, a little bit about your story about why you started Mira.
Sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Sylvia. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mira, and thank you so much, Irene, for having me. So, I'm really excited to be here too. So, as Irene described pretty precisely, my goal really to found Mira at the beginning was to try to help women. So, it was actually was a surprise to me because when we were in our earlier education, like from high school and in college, we always think about fertility means we just need to try to avoid the pregnancy, just don't get pregnant. But then when the time really comes, which is usually after our 30s now, and we found this fertility journey, it was much more difficult than we thought. And there's so little education and there's so little information out there. And then even if you go to see a doctor and say, I'm just trying and I just don't have any luck for 6 months. And usually the OB will say, well, you just keep trying. And if you just don't have time to wait, I will give you some medication for stimulating cycle, or eventually we'll send you for IVF. So this is, to me, it was a little bit like you have a disease and you got the symptom, but the doctor just sent you some chemical to kill that symptom. But what was really happening with your body? What was the root cause? We never got an understanding. And then when I was as Irene said, I had so much education and I was focused on my career when I was in my 20s. And then after I graduated from school and, also career start to settle down, and I found that many of my classmates from Cornell, from Columbia, now they're trying to conceive. And they were all in their 30s, even, between 30 to 35, or some even a little bit older than 35. And then many of them face this problem, and there's really nowhere to seek for solution. And then I was, I did a lot of research, and including, I tried to read the paper, try to look for the scientific research for this female hormone, or how the fertility was related with age and related with lifestyle. Is there anything we could do to improve that? And I found a lot of really weak information. It's basically based on population average, just to say, yeah, after 35 years old, and you will have much less chance. And this is very weak because we know 35 is not like a cutoff, and after that it's like a 0-1. After that you go from 1 to 0, and there's really nothing happened on your 35th birthday. So with all this, I think there's a truly lack of data, and also based on that lack of data, there's lack of information and treatment, and very useful like a blockbuster product to help with women. And this thing has become a very trending issue. So that's the idea, where's the seed of the idea of Mira coming from? So I was thinking to solve this, we need to be very science-backed. There's many, femtech products, but you could say many of them are not really at this clinical level of accuracy and not very easy to use. So we were thinking that maybe there's some product we can innovate. We can use the lab technology, but we should make it really small, really user friendly, and the women without medical education, they're not a doctor, they could understand, and also they should be able to take action based on that, and also this should be the bridge between the patients and the doctor. So the doctor look at data, and the prescription whatsoever treatment will be more personalized, not just tell you to just keep trying, and otherwise I just give you injection for stimulation after 6 months. So that's where the Mira idea came from. And initially we started to work on a single hormone, which was LH, because that hormone was telling you about your ovulation. And then we gradually expanded that product offering. So today we test multiple hormones. We test the LH, estrogen, progesterone, and FSH. So pretty much the major hormones that will go up and down in a cycle. We test all of them, and we test all these hormones quantitatively. So that means we give you a numerical data, like a number for your hormone, just like when you're doing the blood drawing. So you can see the curve, you can see over long term what's the pattern, and those are really personalized information for you to understand what's going on and for your doctor to do a better diagnosis.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is my experience, right? Is being able to see the pattern, because it can, attach to my phone, and I could see, when things were going up and down. I saw that stress was impacting it, exercise was impacting it. So tell us a little bit about, the menopause world, right? So now, myself and others are using, Mira for perimenopause and menopause transition. What do you see in the data about how this can help women in perimenopause and menopause? Because clearly we know, based on the science, that peri is flux. It's up and it's down, right? And then we know menopause, we start to dip progesterone first before we then get into estrogen dip. So how can Mira support the woman in perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, sure. So last year, Mira launched a test one, which is to test FSH. So this was our time, that was beginning for Mira to enter into this perimenopause market. So FSH is a hormone to tell you your fertility level, like are you still fertile, or how long are you gonna stay with fertile, whatsoever. And by testing this FSH at the beginning of your cycle, which is usually day 4, day 3, day 4, like when your hormone FSH was at the baseline, and that can tell you where your fertility level is at. And you want this level to be low, you want the hormone level to be low, and it usually means you have good fertility level. If your FSH levels start to increase at the baseline, that usually means maybe there's some diminished ovarian reserve whatsoever. So that was where we started. And then we started to build more like a product bundle, because we understand that testing multiple hormones together to see their pattern, to see the ratio, to see your unique pattern is very important. So there are a few other hormones that can be useful to your menopausing. I think one is probably everyone understands is estrogen. So estrogen is such an important hormone, and it supports your ovulation, supports your cycle, and also supports many functions in the female body, like your skin health, like your if you're gonna get osteoporosis, and collagen synthesis in your skin whatsoever. So all these things can, when during menopause, the estrogen will start to fluctuate, because your cycle will fluctuate. Sometimes you have even you're in perimenopause, you probably don't have a period for 3 months. You're thinking, well, that's it. And then the 4th month, the period come back. Or you have really heavy bleeding, you have pain, and you have all these symptoms. And many of these are having some correlation with the estrogen level. So to understand where the estrogen level is at, and working together that with your doctor, I think that has been very helpful for a lot of Mira users to better manage their symptoms during the perimenopause and the menopausing stage.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was about the ratio. We talk a lot about ratio, right? Like, what's the ratio of estrogen to progesterone and what's right for a woman? And to your point, everyone used to say it should look like this, but what was right for me isn't right for someone else. And the convenience of being able to journal and track my symptoms against where my estrogen, progesterone were very helpful for me to know what to do to get my doctor to compound the right level of bioidenticals for me. And it was really, really, really helpful in helping me to advocate for myself and feeling like I had some level of power, you feel a lack of power when you're a woman going through this, like you have no control of your body. And then a doctor only wants you to go get tested every 6 months. And by then you've had 20 roller coaster rides of emotion, right? And as you mentioned, estrogen is like every part of your body. It's your neurotransmitters, it's your hair, it's your nails, it's your collagen. And so I just think what you're doing is so important. So what are you hearing from your clients? What are the customers that are using Mira telling you, other than me, I'm such a strong advocate, but what are you hearing from other people? And what do you think is coming in this space for women?
Yeah, sure. So we have many success stories from our user. But after I started Mira, I feel like I heard all kinds of different stories. Like some people got really, really difficult trying to conceive for the second kid, or, they came off from birth control and their cycles were really messed up. This is another really hot topic right now. It's really hormonal birth control is really good for you or not. And then and the emotional roller coaster, as you mentioned, and also doctors giving this kind of very like a standard package for you. So you just basically go through this whole thing, and without ability to understanding what's really going on with your body. And another really common thing is like people, or women don't feel like they were being taken seriously during those healthcare situation. And I think the reason being that when we talk about, how we feel in our body, regardless we're trying to conceive or menopausing, and those are like the first sign of what's, there's something happening with your body, and your body is trying to tell you, and here's a clue. However, many of this data were not being captured or researched extensively. So when you're going to for a doctor's visit and they don't have evidence, they don't have scientific evidence to show this means something, so they will have to tell you no. So basically, a lot of things like that just being ignored, and so people being treated like very standard, and the result was that they not very good experience, not very helpful, and a lot of worriness in the people's mind. We feel like we don't have a control, and also we feel like we don't know what to do. Like, you just say you can't get pregnant, or you have this symptom about perimenopause, and you just have to keep doing the same thing as you're doing. Even very simple question like, how can I feel better? Should I do more exercise? Should I, sleep better? What kind of food should I eat? Yep. Sometimes those are really helpful because, your body is a whole thing. They're kind of regulating, your brain is regulating, your life is regulating what you feel. But the doctors can't give you good advice. They will tell you, of course, do whatever you want. But what does this mean? So it's really like no clue or no designed path for someone having an issue to say, okay, I just need to do this, and that will make me feel better. I will be confident I'm going to be feeling better. So this part is really lacking, from our, the customer experience. And, but, the good things, like, when they were using Mira, and many of them feel like they now have more visibility about their body, their hormone change. And so they will have some thoughts or some pattern to understand, okay, this might be something, we want to do. And also Mira will be launching a new product feature, which is in the app. It's like a fertility plan. So this really to help you to manage going through a fertility journey, regardless what that is. So you will have some very personalized education and some action guide about, what could be helpful for you to go through that path. So, what's really happening in the industry, I think is still, women's health is a big industry, and it has kind of been ignored or underserved in the past. And there's a huge lack of women's health research, and many diseases that were dominating with women's cases were using the male sample to study in the clinical trial. And there's many female diseases were not being studied at all. So, with that, it's the although there are many fintech companies, like Mira and like many others, and also like this podcast, we're trying to generate more awareness, trying to talk more about in this industry, which is great. But I think there's still a very long way to go. I think to truly solve this, we need to start from something, going back to the basics, such as the first to understand, really recognize there is an issue. This is really important by generating this social awareness. And at the same time, we need to have more scientific research about women's health, because without research, there will be no data, and there will be no company can create a blockbuster product, and then there will be no investment. So there's basically very little opportunity for this industry to thrive and to get a lot of cash, a lot of funding into here, so we can do the better service, we can provide the better products, and the doctor will be more aware to say, oh no, you can do this. So this is how I'm gonna use to change the patient experience. So we're not there yet. So still there's a lot of gap, and we need to work on those.
Yeah, I think everything you're saying is so spot on. I'm a believer in systems theory. I study it. I believe in it. I preach it. I use it in our practice. And what I mean by that is, your point about there's the hormones, and then there's what are you doing around the hormones, right? So our coaches provide nutritional counseling. They're looking at cortisol levels. They're looking at thyroid health, because you know more than anybody that any one of those other 3 or 4 things is going to impact the estrogen and progesterone and FSH and LH levels. I want to just say thank you for being here and for being a partner. I mean, we are a formal partner of Mira. If you go on to Mira and you find that you're interested, please put in a Meno Coaching discount code to get a discount on the bundle packages. We believe in this product. It is FDA approved. My understanding is there are not many others, if any others, FDA approved. Is that right, Sylvia?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a tried and tested, accurate piece of data that you have at home for very little cost compared to going to lab testing every other week. So please, if you're either trying to conceive and struggling, if you're having problems with your period and you're having issues with PMDD, PCOS, if you're having issues with perimenopause, please consider Mira technology. If you're, trying to manage your own hormone therapy, there's nothing like it. Sylvia, thanks again for being here. We just appreciate you and all the work that you're doing, and especially all the data, all the science. Science is really important when you're working with hormones. They're very, very powerful. I learned that along the journey. So thanks for all the work you're doing and just for being an advocate for women.
Thank you so much, Irene.
What I Wish I Knew is produced and distributed by EIQ Media Group, LLC. Elevate your emotional IQ with podcasts and content focused on leadership, mental health, spirituality, women's health, overcoming adversity, and more.